people have the right to say what they want to say. And removing Section 230 is basically effectively ending free speech. And of all the people that is pursuing this, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Understand what Section 230 did to bring about the birth of the internet. That was 30 years ago. And I also understand how the internet has changed since then. Because back then, message boards and other websites with user-generated content, they really were more like telephone carriers. They were neutral platforms. But that's not how things work anymore.
Who are you to decide how it works or should work? If it's the law, it's the law. Now, there are different ways of amending the law if you really need or feel that it's necessary to do that. But that's not what Levitt is talking about here. He's talking about the removal of Section 230. So essentially, free speech is no longer protected. That is the line that he is pursuing. Why he is being the spokesperson for this cause is beyond me. Why are they putting him up there? Why? Because he's a decent guy. From all reports I've heard about him, he's one of the more gentlemanly people that would be considered a star in the entertainment industry. There's not too many of them out there. So maybe they feel that he's soft enough to sell it. But what he's selling is the complete removal of any type of free speech protection on social media. That is effectively what will happen if Section 230 is removed. And that's what they're pursuing. They're trying to say that free speech was always great, but not anymore. Free speech is really dangerous now. Now it's dangerous. That's what he's trying to sell.
Today, the internet is dominated by a small handful of these gigantic businesses that are not at all neutral, but instead algorithmically amplify whatever gets the most attention and maximizes ad revenue. And we know what happens when we let these engagement optimization algorithms be the lens that we see the world through. We get a mental health crisis, especially amongst young people. We get a rise in extremism and a rise in conspiracy theories. And then, of course, we get these echo chambers.
What I will say in regards to what he just said and whether there's any validity behind what he just said, there was one thing that he is correct about that I will say is true. The one thing he is right about is there is no question that there is a direct correlation in the uptick of mental health crisis since the overwhelming incorporation of social media into our daily lives. There's no question that that has had an adverse effect on the average person. That's true. But again, where do we draw the line? As I said, there are ways to modify, but that's not what they're looking to do. He fully understands what's going on here and why he is going down this road, because again, he's a liberal Zionist and he's able to sell it because in the end, why is he saying what he's saying? He's saying it because this is all about, it's the rise of anti-Semitism. You're going to see an ad in the Super Bowl. You're going to see this. If we don't stop this, who is going to feel safe? And that's why we talk about how much of this is a class war, nothing more. This is a class war if there ever was. It's people from very comfortable positions who are not feeling so comfortable anymore. Well, as I've said before, and I will say again, your comfort is a privilege. It's not a right. If you don't feel comfortable, that's not our problem. Unless somebody is directly threatening you with bodily harm, you have no leg to stand on. That is the beauty of what makes us the United States of America. If somebody wants to tell you, go fuck yourself, Jew, that is their right, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You don't have any leg to stand on to say otherwise. Now, if that person takes it a step further and says, I'm going to find you, Jew, and kill you, that's a different story. That is threat of bodily harm, but I have a feeling no one's doing that. People are getting restless with a genocide that is still going on. Anywhere from 20 to 70 Palestinians are dying every single day, right now. Some ceasefire, wouldn't you say? Not really. But the great noticing that's happening here at home, no, we can't have that. We can't have that because it will cut in to this idealistic view of Israel and the Jewish state that has been carved from both conservatism and liberalism. But it's all coming to a head, and we all know it. So what else can they do? Sell it. That's what Levitt's do.
These algorithms, they amplify the demonization of the other side so badly that we can't even have a civil conversation. It seems like we can't agree on anything. And yet, one of the only things that the American public seems to agree broadly on right now, left, right, and center, Republicans, Democrats, independents, we all agree that we don't trust these big tech businesses and we don't like the influence they're having on our lives and the lives of our kids.
To that extent, I would say that that is correct. But what are you prepared to do about it? We are in a situation where Section 230 is not the problem. The problem is runaway capitalism that has no checks, no balances. It just has end game corporatocracy, oligarchy, and dare I say, bordering on fascism and totalitarianism. We live in a country where if we simply employed actual laws that were on the books, there would be no such thing as these monopolies. Passing the telecom, first of all, you had in 1987, you had the repeal of the law, it's slipping me right now, the one with Ronald Reagan, the Fairness Doctrine. So you had the Fairness Doctrine in 87 that was removed. That's what gave rise to Limbaugh and ultimately Fox News and MSNBC, which came as a result of the Telecom Act in 1996. And essentially what you had was the end of any semblance of protection against media monopolies. That's what it was supposed to be. Way back in the day, you know, if we're looking at any of the previous laws that were on the books, we had ample opportunity to avoid these problems, but we didn't do what was necessary. Therein is the problem. If you have laws that are on the books, if you have various ways of dealing with media monopolies, and all you do is basically remove it altogether, the Sherman Antitrust Act was passed many moons ago. In fact, let me check the date. 1890. 1890, you had a law on the books to prevent this media consolidation. When the Glass-Steagall, when the Telecom Act of 96 was passed, under Bill Clinton in 1996, when that law was passed, in this country at that time, we had about 55 major media companies. Today, about 5. That's it. How do you expect to curtail this problem if you're not actually enforcing the laws that are already there? Everybody complains, well, why is it that nothing happens? Why is it that the Epstein files have revealed sex crimes against children and we're not pursuing any legal action against any of them? Why? Because we are ruled, we're not governed, we're ruled by an oligarchic Zionist billionaire class that controls the globe. You want to say it's a Jewish cabal? Yeah, it's a substantially Jewish population for sure, but that's not the reason that it's that way. It is a cabal because it is about elites who are in that class. The people that are pursuing this angle of it's anti-Semitism and that's the problem, those are Jewish people of a very comfortable class, not just workaday people. You don't hear anybody doing that. People who have everyday problems. No, the people who pursue this shit, like the Lizzie Savetsky's of the world, I can't help but reference her because she just so sticks out in my head. They are rich and bored, and they have nothing better to do. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, with all due respect, has nothing better to do. He's a successful actor. He's made a lot of money, but all of a sudden he decided, what pet project, what can I do as a liberal to get involved in to make things better, right? This is what he picks? No. No coincidence here. We know what this is about.
Well, if we want to do something about that, the right first step is to sunset Section 230. It's not going to solve everything, but it is the right first step.
It's the wrong step, period. I don't care what step it is. Pursuing it under any circumstances is absolute lunacy. And the fact that you have, of all people, Dick Durbin over your shoulder, listen, Dick Durbin looks like his face is about to melt off. And this is what happens once again in liberal politics. Again, both parties are equally terrible, but there's something to be said about the Democratic Party and how they have these geriatrics that just never leave office. Now, my understanding is that Durbin, I don't believe, is pursuing another term. I could be wrong, but the guy's 81 years old. I really don't know what else to say other than, hey, let me see what else I could do before the sun sets on me. So that's ostensibly what's happened here. Joseph Gordon-Levitt couldn't be more wrong if he tried. Now, I'm not saying that it's total misguidance on his part. Maybe it is. But I'd like to think that he's at least somewhat of a cognizant individual. He has to know a little bit about what he's talking about. And it seems to me that the road he's going down is one that if there's even an inkling that they can try to push this through, it will never be forgotten. And you will be given proper blame for your involvement in this catastrophe of trying to repeal Section 230.